afternoon. It's Mary Ellen from the Warren County Library speaking to you from my kitchen. Today we're going to do coiled magazine pendants like this. So I hope you're having a good day. I hope you're enjoying the sun and you're feeling well and you're ready to try something new. Coiled magazine pendants can put you in the mind of paper beads, and that's what it made me think of. So it's kind of sort of a paper bead with a twist, and literally it's got a twist. So I guess what we'll start with is showing you some of the papers that you could use, and think about the way I think about this class is it's making something out of nothing. And that's a great thing to do when we're not doing a lot of shopping and we're not buying a lot of things for our crafts. So hopefully you have everything you need right in your house to try some of these pendants now. All right, so I'm going to show you some kinds of paper that you can use. You could use wrapping paper, you could use magazine pages, you can use book pages, and even you could use something like the ShopRite weekly ad. That's what I made this necklace from. So let's get started. All right, so what you can see here is a couple of these pendants that I've made with different papers. So this one was made with wrapping paper, and as you can see, the outside of it will show what the pieces of paper look like that did wrap around here. And I found some beads that went along with it and made an easily strung pendant from it. So that's a possibility for you to use some wrapping paper if you have some of that. If you were using a regular magazine page, you could make something like this. So this is a strip of magazine paper, and I have made a little holder on here, so with wire, and I put a little pearl in there to dress it up, and you put it on a nice chain, and it looks like something a little more special than a piece of magazine. If you did a book page, you would see that you see a little bit of the type in the pendant, and what you could do if you wanted to, here's some type that you see going around the outside. You could have cut a strip, a 1/4-inch strip, with a specific line of, say, poetry or something that has meaning to you, and you could have put it right around the outside. I was thinking a nice gift might be putting a piece of type around here, even if you printed it yourself, that said something like, "Love makes the world go around," and give this to someone as a gift to somebody that you love. I think that's a neat idea. This one, again, is just a magazine page, and by going to my bead box, I was able to find a bead that kind of picked up the fall tones and made a pendant from that. So let's get started. I'll move these to the side. So what I'm using for these pendants, because I want them to be kind of thin, not as chunky as they would be if you used a bigger, thicker piece of paper, is I'm cutting my strips in 2 inches. So if you have something that you're going to work on right now with me, if you cut your strips 2 inches wide, it doesn't matter if a book is not as long as a magazine page. It'll all work out in the end as long as you use the same type of paper for the whole project. They might fold or roll or glue a little differently when they're a different thickness. So you might want to, if you're starting out, whatever you start with, stick with in your first pendant so you understand how it works. All right? So I'll move that to the side. So here's an Oprah magazine, and this is what I'm going to use for cutting some magazine strips out. This is 10 3/4 inch tall, and I think cutting a strip just the height of the magazine, I can get 4 across out of a regular Oprah magazine, and so that's what I'm going to do. Excuse me. So the first thing I would do is I would cut some pages out. And I just basically take an X-Acto blade, or you could use your scissors, and I run it along the inside like this. And then I can pull out several pages at a time. So you can see that these pages come out very easily. And it's not hard at all to have a bunch of materials ready for you right away. Let me move Oprah over. You can see with the ShopRite circular, because it's quite deep, I cut it in half this way, and then I did my 2-inch strips across this way. All right? Something to think about when you're choosing your magazine pages, you can randomly choose whatever you find in the magazine, be it print or pictures, but also you might start to look through your magazine to find colors that you like on pages and realize you're going to be cutting them 2 inches wide, and these colors will begin to show up in your pendants. So I've pulled some pages out. I thought this would be pretty to go in a pendant, so I saved this one. And sometimes you'll find, in this particular article, had 3 different pages with all the same color story on it. So I saved these because by the time I cut 4 out of each of these, I would have enough to make a pretty big pendant, and all the colors will go together if I use those. Look, there's even another one. If you know you like the color gray and you see a background like this, you might pick it. Here's a strip that I know will be a nice orange strip. This one will be a nice yellow strip. And the other thing you might find is duplicate pages in a magazine. And then you know they're going to match each other if you cut them. So that way your color story could be something that you end up working on as well. These lipsticks might show up really brightly, so I pulled that one out. And sometimes just text looks nice. It's nice to have a white break in your pictures. And sometimes too, if you find something that looks like black, that can look very nice as well. So keep in mind that you can kind of work on which colors you want to use in your story. So here's a huge stack that I cut out, and it looks like it's probably, it could be as many as 10 pages. And this is the raw side that came out of the magazine, so it's not perfectly straight. And so what I did here was I stapled it together, and I'm going to cut these as one, and I use a rotary cutter. You may not have a rotary cutter at your disposal. If not, you can mark off and cut, even with a scissor, your 2-inch strips. So I'll show you how I cut mine with the rotary cutter. I just lay my ruler down on a 2-inch line like so. I open up my cutter. Always keep it closed when you're not using it. And then slide down. Hi there. Hi, Jenny. How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you today. If you're just joining me, this is Mary Ellen from the Warren County Library, and we're beginning to cut some paper so we can make some coiled pendants. I find cutting with my rotary cutter towards myself gives me more strength for my hands. If you cut away from yourself, that's perfectly fine. But know that whatever works for you, and I find pulling that blade towards me gives me more control. I'm going to close up that blade because I don't want to cut myself. So what I can see now is this first page gave me 4 nice strips with a blue color in it. So I might just keep them together and see how they roll out in terms of my project. So I'm going to move these to the side. And I'm going to put down a little piece of freezer paper here because I'm going to use glue and I don't want to get it on my cutting mat. All right? So what I use is a glue stick, which works really well. Any kind of glue will work for you, but I use a glue stick for this part, and then for the next part, I'll use a tacky glue. So whatever kind you have, both will work for you, and I will use both of those. And the other thing I really like to use is a bamboo skewer that you can get in the supermarket. If you don't have a skewer, you could use any other long, thin, you could use perhaps a pencil or something like that. All right, so in order to coil these the way I want, realize that the side that you want to see the color is not the side you're going to glue. So I would like to retain that glue on the outside. So I'm going to turn it over. I will turn all of these over because I know those are the blue ones that I want. So the way to roll your pieces first, because what we're going to create is we're going to create some rolled pieces like this, and then we'll roll them into a circle. So this is what you make first. You make these strips. All right? So I find if I put my glue stick right along this edge, I'll be able to roll this and have it stick nicely. Let me move this over so you can see where I'm rolling. So at a nice sharp angle, I'm pushing this little corner under, and that's the only hardest thing too, is to get started. And then I'm starting to roll. And as you see, rolling, rolling, rolling. When it hits this edge, you know the glue is there. So it's going to hold this together. So roll, roll, roll. And the last little bit right there, if you didn't get glue on that last little bit, I'm going to put some right there, because as I roll it, it holds together. I'm going to pull out the stick that was allowing me to roll a nice tight little piece here. And now I'm just going to push it down with my thumb and make it flat. So this is ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple more. So the blue side is the side I want. So I'm going to put my glue right down this edge of my 2-inch strip. I'm going to start rolling right there. Sometimes that's hard to do, so you get that little piece underneath. And you see the angle that I'm rolling with. You want this to become a long tube that's pretty much the same width after it's rolled. And now I pull this off and I flatten this out with my hand. Now once again, this is one of those repetitive actions that is really a meditative action. This is the type of work that is good for you when you're under stress. It's something that you can do that takes your mind away, and you can just relax into doing this process. And it actually is one of those things like hand stitching that will help your blood pressure go down. So think about some of these crafts in terms of your own well-care and your well-being, because doing these repetitive acts and creating something out of nothing can really foster well-being. So I'm really kind of thrilled that I've been able to do some of these things as part of my job, because I find this time very stressful, and I'm sure that you all do as well. I hope you're able to go outside. I know some people are unable to go outside. If you are able to go outside, this afternoon would be a lovely day to get a little bit of fresh air if you're able to go out. I know some people are not. If my mom is watching, I know you are not allowed to go outside, Mom, but I hope you're having a good day. And I hope everybody's having a good day. The sunshine helps too, right? We can just go to the window and stand in the window and drink in some of that sunshine, even if we can't go outside. So in that time, I've got 4 of these ready to go. And now I'm going to show you what you do next. So I've got my tacky glue for this part. I'll open it up, and you'll see I usually keep it laying down like that so there'll be glue near the tip. And now we're going to make a circle from it. So the way we're going to make a circle from it is, one of the things we have to decide is, how big a hole do we want in the center? Some of these have a small hole, some of these have no hole, and some of these have a bigger hole. So the easiest thing to do is to make a bigger hole one first. If you've never made one without a hole, I'd say start with a bigger hole. So how would I suggest doing that? I would suggest using something like this barrel of the highlighter or the Sharpie to roll it around. I have found that I have a paintbrush that has a nice thick barrel right here, and that barrel becomes thinner as you go down here. So if you had something like that, you could roll here and it'll be easier to pull it off this end. So this is the one I'm going to show you that I'm going to use right now. Let me close my glue up. All right, just to show you what we're going to do, we're going to put glue on this strip and we're going to roll it. I don't have the glue on it yet, but I'm just going to show you. We're going to roll this onto itself, and we're going to use this paintbrush to hold that roll while we do it. Then we're going to pull it off, and as this becomes bigger and bigger, you really don't need anything inside to hold it. You can just keep rolling against it. So I'm going to place the glue not at the very, very tip, because that will stick it right to my paintbrush. I'm going to come over just a little bit right here, and if you see, I'm going to run a bead of glue right down this strip. Now, you could use a paintbrush or something to apply this glue. I'm going to just take my finger and run this across. It's what I found works best for me. I keep a sponge nearby, and then I can just wipe my finger off, okay? So I'm going to start rolling it right on this thick part of my paintbrush. Now the first roll is the hardest part, because once you get it in place, it'll become much, much easier. So here I am rolling, rolling, rolling. And at some point, I want to check that I'm not stuck to the paintbrush, and I'm not. So I came off, and I'm going to continue rolling this all the way around. Now that little bit of glue on your fingers helps, because it helps you stick this magazine to itself. You could use newsprint, you could use the comics, whatever you have on hand. Once you have that started, I've seen some directions where they have you attach one strip right to the next strip to the next strip, so you have a very long one. I find that that's really not even necessary. I just will start rolling again right from the spot where I stopped. So I think I will take this nice blue one, and it's going to continue this blue, this nice light blue color. Even though there were all kinds of pictures on that page, the dominant theme on that page was this light blue. And I can see that this is where I stopped, where my last piece stopped. So I'm going to start right there. And I'm going to roll in the same direction. Let me get back there. I lost the spot. Okay. And it may help me even to put it back on the paintbrush at this point, to pull against it. It gives you something to hold on to. You might just have a dowel or a pencil. Interestingly, if you had a square something and you wrapped around the square, you would end up with a square design instead of a round design. I haven't found the proper piece of wood that's square to do that, but I have seen them online. You could start around something that is a triangle shape, and you would end up with a triangle. I need a little bit more glue there. And as this paper soaks up the glue, it actually makes it easier and easier to roll. So you can see that I'm building, building, building. Now there might come a point here, I actually think this is kind of pretty. It kind of looks like it would go with blue jeans. So if you don't mind, I'm going to just put another strip on. So you can see how quickly one of these can begin to roll up. So there's the end where I left off. So I'm going to start with another one. Now when these are dry and done, you might want to coat them with a sealer. You might want to coat them with something like Mod Podge. I assume you could glue this whole thing together just using Mod Podge if you were interested in doing that. But I haven't sealed any of the ones that I have here, and they seem to be fine. I have noticed some on Pinterest that use plain white text only, and then they come back and paint the whole disc when they're done with a color, and they just use the disc as the shape. I kind of like the idea of using the color from the paper. And you see how nice this looks with the that blue color. If you wanted a contrast to that, I had saved some strips of something that was yellow, and you could see I could begin rolling yellow against it and make a very interesting look with that. So if you really got into doing this, you could roll a set of coasters for someone. Or, this is the necklace that I have had on. This is 5 discs that I put together as a necklace. So the red ones were the red part of the ShopRite ad, which they had a lot of sale information on the front of the booklet where it was red. And then the insides where it just had the prices for each item were the discs that I made here. So they were made from the same type of paper. And when I was done with them, I thought, well, let me try making something a little bit more elaborate than just one disc. Something you might want to try, I did here, was a 1/4-inch ribbon fits right over this shape as well. So inside this one, I used red ribbon. So here's some red ribbon. I could put it around the outside as well if I liked that accent, or I could leave it natural with the magazine page. And the way I would make a pendant from it, if I just wanted to do a simple one, I have a cord here that I would place through the center, and I would just thread this through and pull it, and there I have a completed pendant. How simple is that? You could then go through your bead box and see what you find. If you find a bead that fits in there, or a bead that you could slide down onto your cord, that would be very interesting. In this case, I was afraid to just glue these together. I actually stitched right through them with a needle and thread because it's just paper. And I might go back now and add a little glue at each of these junctions to make sure that it doesn't come apart. I don't think it will, since I sewed right through it. So something that you might try would be earrings like this. They have a nice big hole in the center. They'd be very easy to roll because you don't have to get in there really tight. And all you'd have to do is put an earring wire on there. This necklace, I used a wire, and I just threaded it right through the last circle. and was able to make a loop on the top so I could put my own chain on it. That would be something that you could do too. There are lots of other things you can do with coiled magazine pieces. You could make a whole bowl from it if you really got into this style. So I hope that you enjoyed doing this project today, where we made something a little bit unusual when we started with having nothing. Know that next week, Morgan from Catherine Dixon Hoffman is going to be at this 2 o'clock hour showing us how to make salt dough garden markers. I've never used salt dough myself, so I'm looking forward to that. And so the week after that, on June 4th, I'll be making felt donuts. So keep your eye out for some felt in the color of the cake of the donut, the icing, and if you have any threads that might match the sprinkles, or you might just want a chocolate one. Here's one that I'm just beginning to sew. So that's coming up on June 4th, because June 5th is National Donut Day. That's a very important day we don't want to miss. So that's what's coming up. So thanks for visiting with me today. I'm going to bring this back up so I can see you and you can see me. And I want to tell you that continue to stay home. You're doing the right thing. You're taking care of yourself and you're taking care of everyone else. So stay home, stay healthy, and stay hopeful that soon enough we're going to be back. The library's going to open up and we'll be back in business. So take care and looking forward to seeing you next time. Know that these videos are available on the Facebook page, even if you're not here at 2 o'clock. And they're also on our YouTube page, which is new. So just look for Warren County Library on YouTube and look for the insignia of our little books that are in that beautiful blue-green color. And subscribe to us today. We'd really like you to see all the virtual things we're doing online. Have a good afternoon, and I hope you can go out and take a walk. See you next time.